Welcome to One Man's Tracks, the secondhand music channel, where we learn about music's past, explore the endless avenues of influences, and reminisce about the records that shaped us. Today, I've stumbled across a fairly underrated gem of a West Coast hip hop record, a one off combination of an MC producer duo whose connection would inevitably lead to the formation of one of underground hip hop's most essential labels. The compelling, commanding combo of Charles Hicks Jr., aka Charizma, and Chris Manak, aka Chris Cuts, soon to be Peanut Butter Wolf. It began in San Jose in 1989 when the two of them were still teenagers, just 16 and 19 respectively. A fortuitous connection that flourished out of their mutual love for rap, their unique, ahead of their time individualism, just formed this bond that was a committed, collaborative relationship, and they began recording demos in Chris's home studio, playing live shows together, and even signing with Hollywood Basic in 1990. A deal that led to them recording an entire album worth of material, even with the limited studio time they were given. It ended up being fairly stagnating because they only ever saw the release of one promo single before the end of their contract in 93. So after all that stalling, they were finally poised to break out with a full album ready to go when, on his way to lunch with his mother, Charisma was fatally shot in a random carjacking on December 16th, 1993. This tragic circumstance left Chris at a loss both personally and creatively. He vowed not to ever really collaborate with someone to that extent again, but would find some solace back in the beat creation process and the beginnings of a now hugely important independent record label, Stone's Throw Records, whose first release was a Peanut Butter Wolf and Charisma single, My World Premiere, in 1996. Following it up with Stone Throw's second release in 99, My Vinyl Weighs a Ton, a Peanut Butter Wolf album, and then a reissue of a 1994 record, Peanut Butter Breaks, that is an inspired instrumental record that is well deserving of a listen. Besides just one other Charisma single released in 2000, it would be nearly a decade following his passing that the world would finally get a chance to hear a full album and EP from him and PB Wolf, with the release of their M-Town EP and this. The tracks they recorded between 91 and 93, produced by none other than Peanut Butter Wolf and mastered by Dave Cooley, released in November of 2003 through Stone's Throw Records. It's Charisma and Peanut Butter Wolf's Big Shots. An impassioned ode to the early heydays of hip hop, Big Shots is simultaneously of its time, ahead of its time, and timeless. The dangerously slick combination of Charisma's ever evolving flows with PB Wolf's jazzed up boom bap make for an impressively invigorating LP. Unifying even, Charisma had this unique chameleonic ability and youthful ingenuity that allowed him to mash up hip hop styles from across coasts and subgenres. With his passionate yet never profane melding of influences, he crafted these smooth, bombastic rhymes that floated effortlessly over the endlessly groovy Peanut Butter Wolf production. If not for his horrific, unexpected end at just 20 years of age, Charles Hicks Jr.'s remarkable rapping ability could have certainly contributed to building more positive relationships both inside and outside of the 90s turbulent rap industry. But sadly, we'll never know. But luckily, thanks to Mr. Peanut Butter Wolf holding on to those masters, we still have the privilege of throwing on some headphones, whipping out the boombox, and listening to young prodigy in his element. A youthful sage showcasing his exuberant dynamism with a bold determination and punchy swagger over these inescapably mesmerizing PBW beats. He kicks things off with "Here's a Smirk," an introduction to who and what is Charizma. He's one of the most East Coast sounding Bay Area rappers. He's captivating, sharp, tapped in, and oh so charming. Answering with a little more on the why next methods goes into the background of influences and passions. It's this cruisy, reflective, sultry tune that's a bit superficial but also surprisingly vulnerable at times. It's this lounge hoppy dichotomous number that's as boastful as it is soothing. It's an attitude that's mirrored just masterfully by this track's gritty, smooth production. Turning the tables towards the more assertive Jack the Mac now, with this bombastic, cocksure, cautionary tale about the seductive nature of dealing drugs and the unforeseen consequences of that lifestyle. Ultimately, Jack doesn't end up dead or in jail, but he does get played and he does get AIDS. If the line hadn't been written by an anxious schoolboy, then the anxious little schoolgirl line from Talk About a Girl might have come off wrong, but coasting along with a cool bottle of apple juice in his mom's car, the Rizma's chivalry and magnetism is unmistakable. Then Tell You Something is a catchy little release of pent up observations, both good and bad, that funkily reveals Charizma's unspoken inner dialogues. It's just pretty sweet, unfiltered honesty. I think Gather Round is just a few rhymes short of greatness, and with one of the best beats on the project, its phenomenal atmosphere and innovative layers of samples just ends up carrying this song so hard, I end up wishing it was just entirely instrumental. That aforementioned second Charizma single that was released back in 2000, Devotion, comes sauntering in next on yet another instant classic PB Wolf pelter. And with Charizma back on top of its off-kilter funkiness, he is straight up with things, telling it how it is, with his flaws, his desires. It's just so smooth, so collected. He's comfortable with himself, and it's just a beautiful honesty that strikes universally. Leading us to one of the greatest intermissions I've come across in an album yet. The quick little apple juice break interlude is a perfect little reminder to take a minute and enjoy the things that you love. Then we get to that Stone's Throw premiere single, My World Premiere. It's the group's hammering, hype up intro track, kicking off the second half of the album with some warm, old school stripped back swag. Keep your head up because it's followed by more catchy metaphoricals with the breezy, chilled ice cream truck coming down the block. It might be an allusion to a drug pusher, but maybe the guy just appreciates a cool, sweet hustle. Crossing over with a touch of reggae, Charizma What cruises along with some more wicked throwback flows, but there's also a couple of breakfast cereal similes, sort of reminded me of LL a bit, but this track simultaneously showcases his ahead of the curve talent as well as his age a bit. Thanks to his honest lyricism and timeless references, it really doesn't end up mattering too much how old he was when tackling these many convolutions of life. Take, for instance, Fairweather Friend, where he comes at flakiness and just general fake friend playa hating behavior. Soon to be large bumps along with another bangin' beachy beat with some reggae interludes that sends us bopping determinately down the summery streets with big old dreams. Charizma always telling it how it is before signing off with the scratched up fiery outro pacing the floor that once more distinctly highlights this duo's proficiency and prolific hip-hop abilities. It's so crazy how groovy and eclectic Charisma already was at such a young age, and there's even more of this if you check out the 10th anniversary edition circa 1990-1993 with nearly 2 full hours of C and PB tunes on it that just keep on giving. It's such a crying shame to have lost such a talented and driven young man with such a tremendous aptitude for precocious discernment. He could have been the communications master of the world at this rate. It's, ah. Thankfully, Charisma's family and Peanut Butter Wolf were able to share these through Stone's Throw, which has since become a veritable source for success in the underground hip-hop world, from Madlib to J Dilla to MF Doom to Knowledge and even Sudan Archives. He even recently saw fit to release some of his own material for the first time in 25 years. Chris has released Campus Christi with multi-instrumentalist Brian Ellis just last year. That record's in a totally different indie surf rock lane, but nevertheless, I'm still very pleased to get a little bit more insight into some of the thoughts and feelings of the man behind the wolf. It is quite a shame that it took such a tremendous loss to kickstart such an important label, but it's amazing to have pulled something so incredible out of such a tragic circumstance. Beautifully bittersweet artistry. Do you have a personal favorite Stone's Throw release? How about Peanut Butter Wolf Beat or Charisma track? Any memories, thoughts, discussions? I'd love to hear them down in the comments. Leave me a recommendation or a correction or any other kind of shun you would enjoy. You can also leave me a like if you're still here. Appreciate those. And join the Nostalgic Record Retrospective Club. Subscribe. Here's a couple of records I think you might enjoy. All the best, y'all. Take good care. I'll see you on the next one.